I'm just wondering if we've left anything out, if there's anything else to
I'm
say
sure
that
we
would
have.
be useful to anyone watching this video.
If we did this interview again, we would answer completely differently. So, yeah, I'm Vivian Gladwell, and I teach clowning along with Ali.
Ali, yeah, I'm Ali Stockford, and I also teach clowning.
And we're part of the Nose to Nose team. So,
Yes,
is that concise enough? Okay, what is clowning? It's a big question because we always find it almost impossible to answer that question. Essentially, it is playful. It is something that we know deeply because we've all been children. If we've been lucky enough, then we can play. We are put in an environment where we're safe enough to play. It's not always the case. So it's very different from what most people think about clowning. Most people think of circus clowning. And so our work is based on the work of Jacques Lecoq, who basically took the clown out of the circus and reintroduced clowning with just a red nose. And so this kind of clowning that we do is it's called more theatre clowning. So you're on stage and we improvise. Everything that we do is improvised. How would you answer this question? There's multiple answers to this question.
Multiple answers. Yeah, I feel like there is just so much to say. What is Nose to Nose clowning? Initially, when I came to this work, I came from a performance background, and so I was intrigued to know what might be different in clowning. You know, I'd grown up doing a lot of dancing and being very perfect in my moves and things like that, and clowning just allowed me the space to actually get it wrong, which I found really difficult at the beginning. It's like, oh no, I can't, you know, there are certain rules around this, and of course there are rules in clowning, but there are a lot of rules in clowning that you can break. And so this idea of tapping into one's freedom, being able to step into different characters, for example, being able to play out all sorts of imaginative scenarios, feels like a really, really nourishing place to be. I mean, it's interesting because I think it's a kind of a hybrid between a performing arts and also this a kind of a very personal journey that you're on, which can be like an internal journey as well. So you'll come to a workshop, you'll take part in games and exercises. We have improvisations on the stage or in the space where we ask people not to plan anything. And for many people, we're very used to planning. So for many people, it's a very, very kind of challenging thing.
You know, I've been working, sometimes I work with Paul Matthews, who's the poet here, you know, and when he starts to introduce his work, he often says, you are allowed to lie. You don't have to say the truth all the time. And I think that's very important. It's the permission to be whoever we want to be. And so we can be the shadows of ourselves too. We can play at having a go at what that feels like. But essentially, I think you can't lie. Whatever you do, even when you lie, you reveal yourself. So I suppose that is the metaphor of the red nose, which is a mask, but then as a mask, normally it hides the person underneath. In this case, it doesn't. The red nose is a ridiculously small mask and cannot hide you in a way. So it reveals you. So, yeah.
I love the fact that at the very often at the end of a clown workshop, people say to us, I have not laughed so much in years. I think people on a clowning workshop feel the permission to tap into a side that is always there, but is not actually something they experience in daily life, which is this aspect of playfulness, of having actually time to deepen into something, a connection with someone, a joke, a kind of playful interaction. And I think that's what is in abundance in clowning workshops. And I mean, to laugh is very, very therapeutic. I shouldn't say that word. We're not therapists.
Well, we say that the work is therapeutic, but it's not therapy, there's a big difference. In other words, like any artistic process, it's therapeutic, but we're not therapists, and this is not therapy. So people play. I mean, an example of how we play, and also how we don't necessarily play at being ourselves, is, for example, the work that we do on objects, becoming an object. So you can be a spoon, or you can be a chair. So what does it look like? What does it feel like to see the world from the point of view of a chair? You know, do chairs really like to be sat on? Or is that what they want, you know? So that it's absurd, and yet at the same time, once you play those games, you reveal parts of yourself that maybe you didn't know you had. So I think the best example of that is in Vietnam, I was working with non-violent communication with a partner, and clowning. And one of the things in Vietnam is that it's not polite to express anger. And yet when you did this object work, it was completely possible for them to be able to do that. Like the memorable improv was one person was a mobile phone, and he was really, really upset with his owner for not having charged him enough. And so we assisted, or we saw a whole scene of, you know, really anger, but playful anger. And it was really interesting in the context of what we were doing in nonviolent communication. What does it mean to work with that, to work with those important parts of ourselves that we tend to deny, or to play with them in a safe way, in a way that we can express them. Yeah. So, who comes to our workshops? What kind of people come to our workshops?
Well, I would say that anybody over the age of 18 to the age of 88 or beyond, depending on your fitness. The wonderful thing about the clown is that you're going to start from a place where you are at. So within the workshops, we do games and exercises around physicality, using voice, but you don't have to be an expert or experienced in those things. Those are things that we explore and are very, very important to the clown. But there's no level of experience to attain with clowning. You're just, for the clown is there. The clown is living their life. And so you're going to just bring yourself to the clown. And really it's an exploration of all of the parts of you, everything that makes you human. And including these darker places, and also including the very joyful and the light places, maybe places you haven't been to in a long time.
So the kind of people who come to our courses are people often who are in what I would call the social sort of dimension. So teachers, therapists, doctors, people whose job involve communication, being with others. So those are the kind of people who we often have who are really interested in this work, because it really addresses their concerns. Is how do you keep it light, for example? How can you communicate effectively and be, playful and not, I don't know, stuck, let's say.
And on the other hand, we might have performers as well. So people come from acting, from TV, artists, poets, people who are really interested in exploring their creativity.
Yeah.
I was remembering, Vivian, in one course this summer, we had somebody who was 22, an actress, through to somebody who was 84.
Yes.
And it was just wonderful. Clowning feels like a real leveler. So once you're in that workshop, you're involved in the game together, and as the week goes on, people seem to connect quite deeply, very quickly. And so, towards midweek, you have a feeling that there's a lot of support between participants on the inside and outside of the workshop. So I love that. I love that intergenerational workshop where people are really gunning for each other, and coming from all sorts of different professions as well.
Because I've been working, especially in Germany, in the context of teacher training for Waldorf teachers. And one memorable conversation I remember is that somebody said to me that she didn't feel she could tell her children, her class, stories. And I said, why? She said, well, I'm not good enough at doing that. And I said, it doesn't matter how bad you are, just do it. And it was transformational for her to have the permission to make mistakes. What is Clown One? So that's the introduction to clowning. So often what we have is we offer weekend workshops, but then the main workshop is a 5-day, you could say 6 days, which is called Clown One, or it's called The Courage to Be, in fact. And that's how we entitle the course. And often people come out of the course saying that title is completely appropriate to the course, because you're standing there in front of people and you just have to be whatever you are at the moment, and that's what it is. And you celebrate that.
So Clown One is a course that spans over 5 days, spans over 6 days actually. It's a 5-day course. And people can expect a really warm welcome. And we delve into games, exercises, and short improvisations, all within the archetype of the clown. We don't really tell people what clowning is. We invite them on a journey of discovery. And so very much part of our process is experiential. So we say, this is the game, let's play this game. And then we might ask you with a partner to reflect on that game. So we're really interested in the process you're going through. So that's a really, really important element of nose to nose clowning, is we're not just teaching performance skills or techniques. There is a very strong theatrical element to the work we do, but there's also this extra element which is person-centered, which means that, okay, you did that. How was that for you? Yeah. So it's always the feedback is within the context of the clown, but we really believe that we're setting up a situation for people to become their own teacher. For example, Vivian, somebody commented once and said, I don't know how you're doing it. You don't seem to be teaching us anything, but we're learning an awful lot. So it's a kind of, the way we teach is a kind of a reverse to what you might expect when you go on a college course or something. But we are deeply interested in you as human beings and your journey in your discovery of becoming your clown, discovering your own clown.
Yeah, we're much more interested in the process. How are people living through? We're not about teaching techniques. People learn techniques, but they learn them because they find them out themselves. Some of them are very kind of obvious, you know. But it's all about communication. How do you effectively communicate to your partner on stage, to the audience? So some of those principles are around listening, amplification, repetition. Those are essential ways in which, you know, we communicate with each other. And also removing the fear of making mistakes. In other words, we celebrate mistakes. We say, okay, keep making mistakes. One of the things I often say before people start doing a performance is I say, if anything goes wrong, make it worse. And so those are important rules that make people just relax into the work. The only rules that we have which are not allowed to break are around safety. And those are universal rules. It's what enables play. Play is fundamentally a safe space. And so that's our concern, what we're always telling people: don't hurt yourself, don't hurt other people, and don't break anything. So, yeah.
I mean, I think also another aspect is that it's hugely fun.
Yeah.
People find it hugely fun.
Yeah.
We do use the red nose. People say that they feel different with the red nose on. They feel more playful, and we also have a big wardrobe of different costumes, and so each time somebody goes to take part in an improvisation, there's this kind of whole, I wouldn't say a ritual, but a moment where you can choose a costume for your clown for that particular improvisation. And I think people just really enjoy this idea that that we're creating stories, yeah, that we can enter on the stage, and that just by connecting with our partner and with the audience, of course, is that somehow collaboratively all of those elements, a story can emerge and that can be enjoyed by everybody on the stage. So whether you're watching in a workshop, whether you're taking part in an improvisation, there's a lot of learning in all of those places, and also a lot of fun and laughter.
Yeah. What do we say to people who say, oh, I could never do this, I'm too nervous, or I'm too serious, or I would be too frightened? And so that's often I find myself answering those kind of comments by saying, that's very funny. You know, as being nervous, being too serious is very funny. So bringing just that part of yourself, being frightened, is actually very funny, because it shows that's really going at the very heart of clowning, which is the vulnerability of who we are. That we are not perfect beings, that we are constantly striving to be, but so all of those, the journey, the imperfection of the journey is really what clowning is. It's all those many mistakes we make on the way, and just to celebrate them. Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that we're going to laugh at you. It just means that we really value everything that you're bringing. So if you're bringing your nervousness, for your clown, that's a really beautiful place to be, although sometimes it's a very difficult and vulnerable place to be. But essentially, we really value what you're bringing to your clown. So nothing is pushed away. Everything is welcome. So please come if you feel nervous. We will look after you.
And we say, bring your nervousness. We don't say it's not a question of not being nervous or learning not to be nervous. We say, actually, that is a real gift. That being nervous, your ability to show how nervous you are, is actually what's going to bring out everything that is precious about clowning. And so the paradox here is that the moment you're given permission to be nervous, then you're not nervous anymore. So why do we believe that clowning is an important part of today's world?
Well, there's a quote by the Dalai Lama going around a lot at the moment, which is the world needs, I'm not sure if I'm quoting him very well, but more healers, more listeners, more dreamers, some words to that effect. And we really believe that that's true. I think in clowning it's not really a search for authenticity, but it's the fact that authenticity is permitted and that we encourage. And I think in today's world we're very, very good at hiding maybe what we feel, or we're in certain behaviours that feel correct, that fit in with society. And I think in clowning we're allowed more to really actually tap into, actually, this is what I'm going through. And now I've got the permission to play that. So I've got the permission to express what's authentic in a really playful way. And that's very liberating. And I think everybody needs to feel that.
Yeah. I think a lot of the big advances, social advances, the ability, I don't know if what I'm saying is completely true, but it comes from also the ability for people to say things that have been important in their lives and to be able to express them about who they are in society and how they contribute to society. And the clowning work is basically a way of giving people the courage and the strength to basically show up in their authenticity. And so it feels an important part of how we move on in society. I would say that to affirm our identity, to affirm not to be afraid of who we are, or to conform, because a lot of our world is about conforming. And so there are things there's a cost to that. And sometimes we have people who pay a price for who that they become who others want them to be. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It is unfortunate because we don't make a lot of money having 12 people. It'd be much nicer to have 50 people. Yeah.
No, it has to be that way, that number of people, to move into depth in a course and for everybody to have a playful time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the reason why we limit the groups to 12, because everybody has a go being on stage. And then there's feedback. We give quite a long feedback. We don't just say, okay, next person. That's a very important part of how we teach clowning. So is that the person comes off the stage and then reflects on what did they feel? What do they remember? And so on. So then that process of self-reflection is where the learning process is. And whatever reasons you have for not doing it, like being too frightened, those are perfect. And perfect clown fears, let's say. And so bring your fear, bring your seriousness, bring everything. We play with those things. Yeah.
So if if you're curious about clowning and you want to find out more, please do get in touch with us. We're very friendly and we very much welcome your inquiries and any questions that you have.
Yeah.
It's also possible to have a chat with us as well to find out if it's right for you. So please get in touch.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
How did we do?